this video, we are dropping a underwater camera 300 feet deep on a sunken ship, and what we saw down there was unbelievable. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. Once we got out of the inlet, we made a 5-mile run south to Fort Lauderdale to set up on this sunken ship. Once we got to this spot, we start setting up our rig. Our setup was pretty basic on this day. We were fishing for snowy groupers, so we needed to go with a beefed up rig. What this rig had was 13-0 mustad hooks with 200-pound mono. Next thing you need is a ball bearing swivel just so your baits spin on the way down and on the way up. And our go-to bait on this day was squid, and you need a lot of it because you go through it really fast if you're in the right spot. Next thing we do is we turn on that camera, and once that was all set up, we plug in the electric reel. After doing all this, we were ready to make drop number 1. So I finished setting up this whole rig, and now I'm ready to drop down there. So I start letting out some line, and we make our way down to the bottom. We now switch over to the camera point of view, and we head down 300 feet deep. In the spot we were fishing today is a really popular spot for these grouper. Sadly, on this day we were not able to get one of these snowy grouper, but I was amazed on how much life was down in this spot. And that's what makes fishing with the camera so great. When you drop this camera down, you have a general idea of what type of fish live in that spot. And on this sunken ship, there were a ton of different species. We are about 20 seconds into dropping on this spot. And the best part about this spot was that it was only 300 feet deep. So it wasn't that dark down there, and it also didn't take that long to hit the bottom. In our recent video, we dropped this camera 1,000 feet deep, and down there it was pitch black, which made it so hard to see what really was down there. We now are right off the bottom, and you guys can see this was a giant sunken ship. And it looked like right here we were gonna land on the bow of this ship. And our positioning here was actually really good, just because we weren't right on the ship where we would get snagged. So in the beginning we saw a bunch of these small little grunts. I drifted with these grunts attacking for about 6 to 7 minutes just because none of these grunts were actually connecting on our baits. And after about 5 minutes of drifting, I snagged into the wreck. Definitely not what I wanted, but when I was stuck in this wreck, this is when I saw the first grouper, and right there, that is a nice sized grouper swimming right by the camera, which is really tough to watch just because I'm not sure if this fish wasn't interested in our bait just because I was snagged or what happened here, but this grouper did not attack our bait. So I was stuck in this wreck for a good minute or two now, and this grouper was just still staring at our baits. And I'm telling you guys, now that I'm watching this footage, it's so aggravating knowing that this fish wouldn't hit just because I was snagged. So I then drifted a little longer, and that's when I drifted back into this spot where the first fish hit. And this was a yellow eye snapper. So after getting this hit, I started bringing this fish up. And on the next drop, you guys are going to see why it's so important to use an electric reel here. Just because if you're reeling slow here, there are so many sharks and barracuda in this area that will just attack your fish. After about 30 seconds, I was already right under the boat here, and we ended up with 2 yellow eye snapper here. But on drop number 2 that we're about to do is where the craziest thing happened. I landed both of those fish and then reset my rig with more squid. And I made my way back down to the bottom. And this is where we saw the craziest thing happen. And this video I'm about to show you shows you exactly why it's so hard to fish out here on these wrecks in Fort Lauderdale. So I continue my way back down to the bottom, and it only takes about 30 to 40 seconds to hit bottom. And if you guys enjoy this underwater content, we have been posting a ton of this type of content recently on this Barjacks family channel. So if you guys enjoy this content, it would mean a lot if you guys can drop a like on this video and hit that sub button. So I'm now about 10 seconds off the bottom here, and it seemed that we were dropping on the deeper side of the wreck here. I'm not sure what type of piece this was on the ship here, but there was a ton of action in this area. So we're about to hit bottom, and we already have a ton of these grunts again circling the baits. And it seemed that there were grunts, vermilion snapper, and yellow eye snapper all in this pack attacking our baits. After a little while, we actually ended up hooking into one of these grunts, and that's when this giant barracuda showed up. These fish got spooked, and then one of those grunts ended up on our middle bait, and that's when this barracuda came to attack. This Cuda came over to the camera and ate that fish that was attached to our hook. In the first couple seconds of hooking into this Cuda, he didn't seem that he noticed he was hooked on our rig. But after he figured it out, he started going nuts, and that's when I thought we lost our camera. Luckily, our rig protected our camera and we only lost a couple of our hooks. But after this happened, we knew it was time to call it a day. But we hope you guys enjoyed this fishing video, and we hope to see you guys in the next Barjack's Family Fishing video.